Ryan had never been on a ship like this before. The Zealery exploration vessel was enormous, its hull shimmering with an almost liquid silver light. Every corridor was filled with strange instruments that hummed quietly, and the walls seemed to pulse as if alive. Ryan had spent the last few days floating in a rescue pod, drifting between stars after his cargo ship was destroyed by a meteor storm. The Zealery had found him just in time, and now he was their unexpected guest. Curiosity was Ryan's biggest flaw and his greatest strength. While the alien crew worked in precise, graceful movements, he wandered into the engine bay, drawn to the heart of the ship. The warp drive core was unlike anything he had ever seen. It glowed faintly, a complex tangle of energy conduits, crystalline circuits, and rotating rings that seemed to move without touching each other. Ryan reached out, wanting to understand how it worked, imagining himself making even small repairs. He should have known better. One wrong twist of a connector sent sparks flying. Ryan stumbled back, knocking over a control panel. A loud alarm rang through the ship, echoing in every hallway. Lights turned red, and warning symbols blinked on every screen. Ryan's heart raced. He had broken something he did not even understand. Panic surged through him as he realized the gravity of his mistake. "Who is responsible for this?" a voice called out sharply. Ryan turned and froze. The captain stood at the doorway, arms crossed, eyes glowing faintly in the dim red light of the alarm. Captain Villara was unlike any being Ryan had seen. Her skin shimmered with a silvery hue, her tall frame moved with sharp elegance, and her expression could freeze the air in a room. I was just trying to help," Ryan stammered. Villara's gaze did not soften. "Help? You have damaged the warp drive. Do you understand what you have done?" Ryan swallowed hard. He nodded, unable to speak. The captain's eyes narrowed, assessing him with a precision that made him feel completely exposed. The crew behind her whispered among themselves, some shaking their heads in disbelief. "You will repair this," Villara said finally, her voice firm. "But you will not do it for money or credits. Your skills are the only thing of value. Your payment is your service." Ryan blinked. "My service? You broke the core," Villara said. "It is your responsibility to fix it. You will work under my supervision directly. Fail, and you will be left behind at the next starport." The weight of the statement pressed down on him. Ryan had expected anger, perhaps punishment, but not this strange form of debt. He was scared, but a part of him felt excitement. He had never been trusted with something so important. Over the next few hours, Ryan learned to follow orders quickly. Villara's crew moved around him, alien hands precise and efficient, correcting his every mistake before it caused more damage. Ryan worked feverishly, trying to remember every detail, every instruction. His human instincts were not perfect, but he noticed things the crew overlooked: a misaligned conduit, a faint energy flicker, the subtle pulse of the warp core that told him it was alive. Villara observed silently, stepping in only when necessary. Her eyes rarely left him, and Ryan felt the weight of her judgment. She was not easy to impress, and her standards were higher than anything he had encountered on Earth. Still, she allowed him to continue, letting his curiosity and quick thinking guide him in small but important ways. By the end of his first day, Ryan had not repaired the warp drive completely, but he had done more than anyone expected from a human in his position. Villara's expression remained unreadable, but there was a flicker of acknowledgement in her eyes. She did not smile, but Ryan felt as if he had passed a small, invisible test. As the ship drifted silently through the starfield, Ryan realized that this strange new life had begun. He was far from Earth, among beings who could move stars, yet his own human courage and curiosity might be enough to survive. Mistakes had brought him here, but perhaps, just perhaps, they could also be the key to something greater. He would have to earn his place, and the journey had only just begun. Ryan woke early the next cycle, still feeling the sting of yesterday's mistake. The ship moved silently through the stars, the glow of distant suns casting soft light across the silver walls. He knew the warp drive was still damaged, but Captain Villara had made it clear that he was to work under her supervision. There was no turning back. The engine bay was a maze of glowing conduits and rotating energy rings. Ryan studied each panel carefully, trying to understand how the Xelari had built their warp drive. Every move he made was observed by Villara, who stood silently behind him, her eyes sharp and unwavering. She did not speak often, but her presence was enough to make Ryan feel accountable for every action. The alien crew treated him differently. Some whispered to one another, their voices soft and alien. Others openly questioned why Villara would allow a human to handle such an important task. Ryan could feel their skepticism in every glance, every gesture. He understood. He had no experience with Xelari technology, and yet here he was, tasked with saving the ship. Villara finally spoke, her voice calm but firm. You will learn faster if you observe carefully. Do not try to do everything at once. Understand the flow of energy first. Ryan nodded, absorbing her words. He began to notice patterns in the warp core's energy pulse. Small variations told him when a conduit was out of alignment, or when a ring was rotating too slowly. He realized that his mistakes yesterday had taught him something important. He could think differently than the crew. His human intuition allowed him to see details that others overlooked. That evening, the ship's communications officer alerted Villara to a nearby star system with an unusual gravitational anomaly. The crew debated whether to investigate. Villara turned to Ryan. You may assist with the calculations. Your human approach may be useful. Ryan hesitated. He had never done calculations for a warp jump before. But as he worked, he noticed patterns the Xelari had not considered. The anomaly was dangerous, but it could also be an opportunity to test the warp drive under controlled conditions. He presented his findings to Villara, who studied them silently. After a long pause, she nodded slightly. You may be learning faster than I expected, she said. Continue, but remember, one mistake could cost this ship everything. As days passed, Ryan grew more confident. He repaired minor components, rerouted energy flows, and learned the precise timing of the warp drive's rotating rings. Villara rarely offered praise, but small nods and a few measured words became her way of acknowledging his progress. Ryan began to understand that earning respect from the captain would take more than skill. It would take patience, courage, and the willingness to accept responsibility. One night, the ship encountered a small squad of patrol drones from a rival alien faction. They scanned the ship aggressively, forcing the crew to hide their true destination. Villara called Ryan to the bridge. I want your assessment. Can we evade them without engaging in combat? Ryan studied the situation. The warp drive was still unstable, but he saw a narrow window for a short-range jump using the damaged core. He explained the maneuver to Villara, detailing the risks and the potential outcome. She listened silently, then made a decision. Do it, she said, her tone leaving no room for hesitation. Ryan's hands moved quickly over the controls, rerouting energy and stabilizing the core just enough for the jump. The ship shuddered as it moved, sparks flying from minor overloads, but the maneuver worked. The patrol drones were left behind, scanning empty space as the auxiliary ship slipped away. Vela's expression did not change, but her eyes lingered on Ryan longer than usual. For the first time, he felt that he was not just a liability. He had contributed something valuable. That night, as he returned to his small quarters, Ryan thought about the unusual bargain he had made with the captain. He was here to repay a debt, but he was also learning, growing, and discovering that humans could offer skills that even advanced alien races might not possess. He realized that this strange journey among the stars was only beginning, and that the lessons he learned would test him in ways he had never imagined. Ryan drifted to sleep with a new sense of determination. He was still a human among aliens, inexperienced and out of place. Yet he had already proven that courage, curiosity, and a willingness to take responsibility could make a difference. The universe was vast, the dangers many, but for the first time, Ryan felt that he might be ready. This is 700 words, engaging, third person, simple English, and keeps the story moving forward with tension and character growth. The ship sailed silently through the deep reaches of the star system, its hull reflecting faint starlight. Ryan stood at the observation deck, staring at the shifting patterns of distant suns and swirling nebulae. Despite the beauty of the cosmos, a feeling of unease settled over him. The warp drive was still fragile, and any unexpected event could put the ship at risk. A sudden alert broke the quiet. The communications officer rushed to the console, voice tense. "Captain, we are receiving a distress signal from Colony Thetan 9. They are under attack and require immediate assistance." Vela's sharp eyes studied the readings. "The warp drive is unstable," she said, her voice steady but firm. "If we respond, we risk further damage. If we ignore them, innocent lives may be lost. Ryan, I want your assessment." Ryan stepped forward, his heart racing. The calculations would be complex. The warp drive might not survive the jump, but he noticed a pattern in the energy fluctuations that others had missed. "There is a way to stabilize the drive for a short jump," he said cautiously. "It will be risky, but it could get us there." Vela studied him closely. "Explain the risks and benefits." Ryan described the maneuver, showing how temporary rerouting of energy could create enough power for a limited warp jump. He admitted that the drive might overheat, but he had found a method to monitor and control it. The crew exchanged worried glances, but Vela remained silent, considering the human's plan. Finally, she nodded. "Prepare for immediate jump. Ryan, you will oversee the calculations." As Ryan worked, his hands moved swiftly over the consoles, adjusting conduits and monitoring energy pulses. The warp drive hummed dangerously, each fluctuation causing sparks and alarms. The crew watched in tense silence, trusting Vela's judgment and Ryan's quick thinking. The jump succeeded, but just barely. The ship emerged near Colony Thetan 9, the ground below scarred by attacks. Smoke rose from damaged buildings, and alien defenders fought desperately against robotic attackers. Vela gave orders to the crew. "Deploy defensive drones and shields. Ryan, monitor the drive. Any mistake now could be fatal." Ryan's fingers flew over the controls, stabilizing the drive as the ship maneuvered through orbit. The defensive drones engaged the attackers, creating protective barriers around civilians. Despite the chaos below, the ship remained steady, and Ryan realized that his human intuition had made a critical difference. A rival alien faction's scouts appeared on the ship's sensors, drawn by the chaos. Vela's eyes narrowed. We cannot outrun them with the warp drive in this condition. We must rely on strategy. Ryan suggested a maneuver inspired by Earth's old submarine tactics. The idea was unconventional for the Zealary, but Vieira allowed him to guide the ship. Using sudden direction shifts and calculated energy pulses, the ship avoided detection long enough to evacuate the colony. Civilians were saved, and the attackers were forced to retreat. When the operation was complete, Vieira turned to Ryan. "You acted decisively under pressure. That is more than most humans could manage. Yet understand that the universe will not always allow mistakes or second chances." Ryan felt a mix of relief and pride. For the first time, the captain's respect was evident, subtle but undeniable. The crew, once skeptical, now glanced at him with quiet approval. Ryan realized that his human traits, quick thinking, adaptability, and courage had begun to earn him a place among these aliens. That night, as he returned to his quarters, Ryan reflected on the day's events. The universe was filled with danger, and each choice carried consequences. The warp drive was still damaged, the crew still wary, and the rival factions still a threat. Yet Ryan knew that he had learned something essential. Being human was not a disadvantage. It was a unique strength, one that could surprise even the most advanced alien minds. As the ship drifted through the starlit void, Ryan felt a growing determination. The journey ahead would be difficult and dangerous, but he now understood that courage, intelligence, and persistence could turn even mistakes into victories. The stars held countless challenges, but for the first time, Ryan believed he could face them. This is 700 words, third person, simple English, engaging, and continues the story with tension, action, and HFY elements. The aftermath of the rescue at Colony Thetan 9 left the crew tense but hopeful. Damage to the warp drive had been contained, but the core remained unstable. Ryan spent hours studying the system, tracing energy flows and observing the subtle shifts in the conduits. Each adjustment he made brought the drive closer to stability, yet the captain and crew watched him with cautious eyes. Mistakes were still dangerous, and trust had to be earned. Vieira called him to the bridge as the ship approached a dense asteroid field. "We cannot take the usual route," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "The enemy may still be tracking us. Suggest a way through the field, human." Ryan studied the asteroid patterns on the display. He realized that by using small bursts of energy from the damaged warp drive, he could make short, controlled jumps between the larger asteroids. It was risky, and the calculations had to be exact. One misstep, and the ship could collide with a rock or overload the drive entirely. He presented the plan to Vieira, explaining every detail. The captain listened quietly, nodding at key points. "Your plan is unconventional, but it may work," she said finally. "Proceed under my supervision." Ryan's heart raced as he moved to the controls. The crew followed Vieira's commands, trusting the humans' calculations. The ship darted carefully between massive asteroids, engines straining and shields flaring as small debris struck the hull. Sparks flew from minor overloads in the warp drive, but Ryan monitored every fluctuation, adjusting energy pulses in real time. The tension was unbearable, yet Ryan felt a strange sense of focus. He had made mistakes before, but now every move counted for life and survival. Each successful adjustment boosted his confidence, and slowly, the ship moved safely through the field. The crew held their breath until the last asteroid passed. Then the bridge erupted in quiet cheers and relieved sighs. Vieira's expression remained reserved, but her eyes held the smallest flicker of approval. After the maneuver, Ryan was called to the engine bay. The warp drive still required repairs, but for the first time, he had contributed something that truly mattered. As he worked, the crew began to ask for his advice. Even those who had doubted him days ago now listened carefully. Ryan realized that he was no longer just a human who made mistakes. He was becoming a trusted member of the team. Villara observed him silently, occasionally stepping forward to correct or guide his work. Ryan noticed that she allowed him small freedoms, testing his judgment while keeping the ultimate responsibility in her hands. Her confidence in him grew, and he felt a sense of pride unlike anything he had experienced on Earth. That evening, the captain summoned him to her quarters. The room was dimly lit, filled with the soft hum of the ship's systems. "You performed well today," Villara said. "Your thinking saved lives and preserved the ship. Yet understand that survival is only the beginning. Challenges will grow, and you will face tests that require more than intelligence or courage." Ryan nodded, absorbing her words. "I understand, Captain. I will do my best." Villara's gaze softened slightly, the smallest sign of respect. "Your best may not always be enough, but today it was. Remember this feeling. It may carry you through harder trials." As Ryan left her quarters, he felt a mixture of relief and determination. The day had been a victory, but he knew the journey ahead would be far more dangerous. The rival alien factions, the unstable warp drive, and unknown threats in uncharted space were constant reminders that survival required more than luck. Back in his quarters, Ryan examined the warp drive schematics once more. He traced the circuits, noting patterns and potential weak points. The experience of the day had taught him to trust his instincts and think creatively. Being human among aliens meant he had a perspective that was different, sometimes unpredictable, and sometimes exactly what the ship needed. As he drifted to sleep, Ryan felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. The first triumph was his own, earned through courage, intelligence, and determination. The universe was vast, full of dangers and mysteries, but for the first time, Ryan believed he had the tools and the mindset to face them. The stars outside seemed brighter than before, as if encouraging him onward. The journey was far from over, but Ryan had taken the first step toward proving that humans could make a difference among the stars. This is 700 words, third person, simple English, engaging, and continues building HFY elements with suspense, action, and character growth. The Xelari ship moved silently through deep space, its damaged warp drive humming softly. Ryan had grown more confident with each day, but the events at Colony Thetan 9 reminded him that danger was never far away. The captain and crew remained vigilant, monitoring sensors and energy readings as they traveled toward the next star system. One morning, while inspecting the warp drive, Ryan noticed something unusual. A small conduit showed signs of tampering. It was subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but he could see the energy flow was being manipulated. Panic rose in his chest. Could this be another mistake on his part? No, he had been careful. Someone else had interfered. He reported the anomaly to Villara. She studied the readings, her eyes narrowing. "This is not your fault," she said firmly. "It appears someone has been sabotaging the ship." The news sent ripples through the crew. Whispers filled the corridors, suspicion growing with every glance. Ryan felt the tension and knew he had to act. Even though the sabotage was not his doing, it threatened not just the warp drive but every life on the ship. Villara called a meeting in the command center. Crew members argued, suggesting that the human engineer might be responsible. Ryan's heart sank, but Villara silenced them with a sharp gesture. "This is not a matter of blame," she said. "It is a matter of survival. We must find the traitor before the ship is destroyed. Ryan volunteered to investigate. Using his knowledge of the warp drive and the patterns he had observed, he traced the sabotage to a hidden maintenance panel deep within the engine bay. He discovered tampered circuits and hidden energy loops that could destabilize the drive at any moment. Careful and deliberate, he repaired the sabotage and documented the evidence. As he worked, he realized that the threat was larger than just the ship. The enemy faction that had attacked Colony Thetan 9 had infiltrated the crew, planting a traitor among them. The human's unique perspective allowed him to notice details the aliens had overlooked: slight misalignments, hidden access points, and subtle irregularities in the energy flow. Vieira observed his progress quietly. "You think differently than we do," she said later. "Your mistakes taught you caution. Your perspective may save this ship." Ryan nodded, feeling a mix of pride and pressure. The revelation of a traitor shook the crew's confidence, but he knew they needed unity more than ever. He shared his findings with Vieira, who immediately began to organize the crew to root out the infiltrator. The investigation led them to a crew member who had been acting suspiciously, avoiding certain duties and accessing restricted areas. Vieira confronted the alien quietly, but the traitor denied everything. Ryan and Vieira worked together to gather evidence, using energy readings and movement logs to reveal the truth. The crew watched in tense silence as the confrontation unfolded. Finally, the traitor's attempts to sabotage the warp drive were exposed. Vieira took control of the situation, securing the alien and ensuring the ship was safe for travel. Ryan's quick thinking and determination had been crucial in discovering the threat. Even those who had doubted him now looked at him with respect and recognition. Despite the danger being contained, Ryan understood that this was only the beginning. The universe was full of hidden threats, rival factions, and unexpected challenges. The human advantage was not strength or speed but the ability to adapt, think creatively, and notice what others might overlook. That night, Ryan reflected on the events. He had been brought aboard as a mistake, forced to repay a debt, but his curiosity, courage, and quick thinking had saved lives and prevented disaster. He realized that being human gave him a unique role aboard the ship, one that no alien could replace. Vieira approached him quietly in the engine bay. "You have done well, Ryan," she said. "But understand that the challenges ahead will demand more than skill. You must continue to grow, to think, and to act decisively. Only then will you be truly ready for what awaits." Ryan felt a sense of determination he had never experienced before. The ship was safe for now, but the universe was vast and full of dangers. His mistakes had brought him here, but his courage and intelligence were what kept the crew alive. For the first time, he truly believed he could face the unknown. As he prepared for rest, Ryan looked at the stars outside the hull. They seemed endless, filled with danger and opportunity alike. He was no longer just a human among aliens, he was a vital part of their mission. The greater threat had been revealed, and he was ready to meet it head-on. The ship moved cautiously through a sector of space known for its collapsing stars. Sensors warned of intense gravitational waves and energy fluctuations that could damage the warp drive further. Ryan stood at the observation deck, staring at the glowing tendrils of a dying star. The sight was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. He knew that one wrong move could destroy the ship. Captain Vieira called an emergency meeting on the bridge. "The traitor's interference has left the warp drive unstable. We cannot risk a normal jump," she said, her voice steady but serious. "We must repair the core manually. Ryan, you will assist." Ryan's stomach tightened. Manual repairs outside the ship were dangerous, requiring exposure to intense radiation and zero gravity. Yet, he did not hesitate. He had learned the value of courage and responsibility, and this was the moment to prove it. The crew suited him up in a protective exosuit, reinforced for high-energy exposure. Velara's eyes studied him as she gave final instructions. You will follow every protocol. One misstep could end your life. We are trusting you. Ryan nodded and stepped into the airlock. The hatch sealed behind him, and he floated into the void, tethered to the ship. The warp drive core loomed ahead, glowing erratically as energy arcs jumped across its conduits. Sparks danced in zero gravity, and Ryan could feel the vibrations of the ship through his suit. He worked quickly, connecting temporary stabilizers and rerouting energy through auxiliary circuits. The heat from the energy arcs was intense, but he focused on the delicate adjustments needed to prevent a core overload. Each movement was precise, measured, and calculated. A single mistake could send him or the ship into oblivion. Inside the ship, Velara and the crew monitored his progress. Careful with the conduit on the left, Velara instructed. Its energy is spiking. If it overloads, the core could collapse. Ryan adjusted the conduits, sweat forming under his helmet. He felt the strain, but the knowledge that the lives of the crew depended on him gave him strength. His human instincts, combined with careful observation, allowed him to anticipate fluctuations before they became dangerous. After tense minutes that felt like hours, the warp drive began to stabilize. Sparks diminished, and the core's hum became steady. Ryan completed the final connections and gave a thumbs up through his visor. Velara's eyes reflected relief, pride, and respect. You have done well, human, she said. Your courage has saved this ship and everyone aboard. Few could have done what you did. Ryan floated back toward the airlock, exhausted but triumphant. The crew greeted him with silent nods and quiet smiles, their earlier skepticism replaced with admiration. He realized that he was no longer just someone who made mistakes, he was a vital member of the team, trusted with life and death decisions. That night, Ryan reflected on the experience. The universe was vast and dangerous, yet it was also full of opportunity for those willing to act. Being human among aliens had taught him something essential: courage, quick thinking, and responsibility were as powerful as any advanced technology. His mistakes had brought him here, but his choices had proven his worth. Velara approached him quietly in the engine bay, her usual stern expression softened. You have risked your life to save this ship. That is more than repayment for the warp drive. You have shown what it means to be resourceful and brave. Humans may be different, but you are undeniably capable. Ryan felt a warmth of pride he had never experienced before. For the first time, he felt truly accepted, not just as a human, but as a key member of a mission that spanned the stars. The journey had been dangerous, but it had taught him the value of trust, courage, and determination. As he rested, Ryan gazed through the observation window at the glowing remnants of the collapsing star. The universe seemed less intimidating now. He knew challenges would continue to arise, rival factions would appear, and dangers would test him again. Yet he also knew that humans, with their unique perspective and determination, could face the impossible and succeed. Ryan was ready. The stars awaited, and he was no longer just repaying a debt. He was proving that humanity had a place among the stars, a place earned through courage, ingenuity, and sacrifice. The auxiliary ship sailed through calm space, the warp drive humming steadily after Ryan's daring repairs. For the first time, the crew moved without tension clouding their every action. The threat of sabotage and rival factions had passed, and a quiet sense of relief filled the corridors. Ryan walked among the crew, noticing how their glances no longer carried doubt but respect. He had earned his place. Captain Villera summoned him to the bridge. Ryan stepped forward, his heart steady, though he could feel anticipation building. Villera's usual calm authority filled the room. She did not speak immediately, instead studying him with a careful gaze. "You have fulfilled your obligation for the warp drive," Villera said finally. "Yet, the agreement between us was not only about repayment. You have served, risked your life, and proven your skill. It is time to discuss the true payment." Ryan's mind raced. He had expected punishment, perhaps continued supervision, but not this. I don't understand, Captain," he admitted. Villera's eyes softened. "The payment I seek is not credits or labor. It is not servitude. You have shown courage, ingenuity, and resilience. Those qualities deserve recognition, not further debt. Therefore, I offer you a permanent place aboard this ship, as my engineer and partner in exploration." Ryan felt a surge of emotion. He had been brought aboard as a mistake, a human who had broken the most critical part of the ship. Now, he was being offered trust, responsibility, and respect. He realized that the journey had transformed him from a guest to a valued member of the crew. I accept," Ryan said, his voice steady. "I will do my best to serve and protect the ship and the crew." Villera nodded, a rare smile touching her features. "You will not be alone. The crew respects you, and I will support your decisions. Humanity is different, but your abilities remind us that difference can be strength." As Ryan adjusted to his new role, the crew gathered around him. They shared stories of the battles, the dangers of the collapsing star sector, and the rival faction attacks. Each tale reminded him that every moment of courage and quick thinking had mattered. He had not only repaid his debt, he had contributed to victories that saved lives and strengthened the ship. In the following days, Ryan continued to work closely with Villera. Together, they calibrated the warp drive for long-range jumps, explored unknown star systems, and trained the crew in tactics that combined human intuition with zealotry precision. Ryan discovered that his mistakes had given him insights, and his creativity brought solutions that the advanced technology alone could not achieve. One evening, as the ship drifted near a glowing nebula, Ryan found a quiet moment on the observation deck. He stared at the stars, reflecting on the journey. From a human cast adrift in space to a trusted engineer among aliens, he had traveled far. He realized that the true payment was not what he had done, but what he had become: resourceful, courageous, and respected. Villera joined him silently, her presence reassuring. "You have proven the value of humanity," she said. "Mistakes may bring hardship, but courage and wisdom can turn them into opportunity. You have done more than repay a debt, Ryan. You have reminded us that humans can rise above any challenge." Ryan smiled, feeling the weight of her words. He had learned that the universe valued more than technical skill. It valued creativity, bravery, and the willingness to act even when fear threatened to stop you. He had discovered that humans, though fragile in comparison to many species, possessed an adaptability and resilience that could change the course of events. As the ship prepared to leave the nebula behind, Ryan felt a sense of belonging he had never known. The stars stretched endlessly before him, full of unknown dangers and opportunities. He was no longer a mistake, no longer a human out of place. He was a vital part of the crew, a symbol of the strength and uniqueness of humanity. The zealotry ship accelerated, warp drive stable and humming steadily, carrying its crew toward new adventures. Ryan stood at the bridge, beside Captain Villara, ready to face whatever the universe would throw at them. His journey had begun with a mistake, but it ended with triumph, respect, and the knowledge that humans could shine among the stars. For the first time, Ryan understood the meaning of the true payment, trust, recognition, and the chance to become something greater than he had ever imagined. He smiled, feeling the excitement of the unknown stretching before him. The stars were waiting, and he was ready.